And welcome to Let Them Talk. We're back after a 2-week hiatus for the holidays and the new year. Happy New Year, everybody. And I hope it's going to be a great new year. Put to bed terrible old year and look forward to a better and great new year. No matter what they say on TV, we know it's up to us to make it a great new year. So welcome back. I'm Paul DiRienzo and my guest, Samari Ijezi.
Hi.
Hi, Samari. Glad to have you aboard. Samari is my first guest of 2020.
Woo!
You're my first 2020 guest.
Happy New Year.
Yeah, Happy New Year. And we met right around the beginning, right after the New Year, last Friday, right?
Yeah.
Oh my God, last Friday over at the dinner. And we're a little close family around here, MNN and different media places where I work and hang out, and of course we see each other at events and gatherings and dinners, and I have always meeting new and interesting people. At this one dinner we go every Friday, and sure enough there was Samari, and we were talking about, I forget all, we were talking about media, right?
Media.
You were real interested in media from the beginning, right?
Always have been.
And I can't stop talking about it either. That's all I talk about. I drive
why
people
I'm
crazy.
here.
Well, welcome. And Samari joins us. She is, she'll tell her own history, but she went to school up in Western Mass at Amherst, and she was once a model, as you can
Yes.
tell. And
Don't flatter yourself.
and she went from that to being a financial analyst, and she's very interested in media, which I think is great. And I want to help anybody get involved in media, how to get involved here at MNN. Great place to come and get a show. If you live in Manhattan, you can come down and sign a few papers, take a class or two, and next thing you know, you'll be on the air like the rest of us. I just told you the secret. And so we're going to walk Samari through the process, and if she gets a show here, you'll have me to blame. So, Samari, welcome.
Thank you.
Great to have you on. It's a very momentous last few days and day. But let's begin with our Happy New Year story. And I wanted to know a little bit more about you, because this is actually, we've talked a little bit, but there's more to learn. And so I realized that. And so tell me about, like, where were you born? Where did you grow up? Where did you go to school? Those kind of stuff. We're interested.
Fun stuff,
Yeah.
the background story.
Yeah.
I guess. Well, I'm from Massachusetts. Was raised a little bit outside of Boston, 15 minutes away in this town called Newton. A very suburban neighborhood. Great education, schools, and yeah, so I grew up in Newton, Mass. And growing up, I've always lived in low-income housing, and that was definitely like tremendous role in my story and like shaped me to who I am today. And was able to kind of get out of that with like education. I went to college. I went to UMass Amherst. Go Minutemen! Woo! I double majored. I studied political science and I studied economics.
Right, and that's what we were talking about, because I'm as well a political science major.
I know.
And I studied history and economics. Maybe that's why we talked. We sat there at the table and talked for half an hour, and nobody was wondering, what are they talking about?
I know, that's probably why we connected. It's just, the
Exactly.
background. So yeah, I double majored, and my first job, well, I actually had many jobs. My first job was actually at 14 at a camp, but my first internship while in college was at an investment bank, State Street, and I was doing trading there. And that was my first experience in working in finance, and I just learned so much about the financial markets, about investing, and that was just the start of my career, let's just say the least. And then from there, I actually my third year summer, when I was a junior, I interned at PBS. So I was in the newsroom and I was writing, because I've always loved
the news
writing.
hour.
Yeah, newsroom.
Newsroom. Newsroom. That's the late night one, right?
Yeah, so I actually worked specifically on the show called Basic Black, which is historically a African American show. They've been out for 50 years now.
50 years?
50 years.
Wow, cool.
Yeah, so I would write scripts and write content and just do a lot of the backhand work of it.
Great.
So
Isn't
one
that fun?
day,
You got the bug. You get the bug, right?
got the bug.
Oh,
I
it's
was
the
like, I
bug.
don't want to leave
Oh,
media.
no.
Like this is like the realm of intelligence and
She got the bug.
information.
Yeah.
But a little story about that. Like while in college, my professor, he was like, "Well, what are you good at? Like, what do you like doing?" And I was like, "Well, I do like modeling. I like taking pictures. I like photography. I love art."
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, "I love media. Like, I just love media. I like being in the realm of intelligence, news. I like writing. I've always written since I was like in high school. But then I was like, but I also love finance. So
Telling people what to do with their money.
telling people, like, who doesn't want to talk about money?
What happens when you hit the lottery? What's the biggest mistake people make when they win $10 million?
They spend, they consume, and they don't find ways to reinvest and to double the money.
And 10 million goes way faster than people realize. If all you do is spend, spend, spend.
Yep. But funny that I brought that up. My professor was actually the one who inspired me and gave me the idea to become a financial journalist.
Mm-hmm.
So I am a financial analyst. I work at a media company right now, but I write. So I have a website, and I write articles about personal finance, ways to invest, ways to earn passive income. So that's just a little bit about me. I'm from Boston, 617, and I'm a financial analyst / journalist.
Right. So tell me about the type of journalism you want to do. Finance journalism?
Yeah, like I like to talk about more so like economics, just to keep it on a broader spectrum.
Right.
You know?
So which type of economics? There's so much like micro,
Social.
macro, social, like
Macro,
political economy.
Yeah, political economy.
Is that
macro,
interesting? Yeah.
And micro. I do like talking about individuals and like smaller spectrum things, but then I'd say both.
Yeah.
You know.
How do what do you have to do to make sure you don't? Because you know what's happening today, and I can tell you this from experience of people this has happened to, is people are living way longer than they thought they were going to live.
That is true.
Even as, to be honest with you, in America, the lifespan is actually going down for the whole country.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, it is.
It was rising.
That's because, no, it was supposed to be rising. It's supposed to be rising. It's been going down since Trump got in because he's cutting back on health care. It has a direct effect, right?
Absolutely.
And when Obama was in there and was, even though it was, a truncated, health plan, it wasn't the greatest thing in the world. It wasn't English or Canadian.
Yeah.
It was better than we had before, and the fact that you couldn't kick people off for having preconditions meant more people were being treated, and lifespan was actually expanding.
Yeah.
But Trump got in, cut all that stuff back, and immediately it starts going down.
Absolutely.
Immediately. It's amazing how fast
And
it
with
happens.
that, I feel like life insurance, that's something that I write about. Life insurance. People should definitely get life insurance.
That's interesting, right?
Yeah. And
That's for your that's for people, your heirs, your family, your members. So if somebody can pay for your funeral, it's not thousands of dollars for a funeral.
It's so important. It's so important.
Right. How do you make sure though that they spend the money on burying you and don't just like put you in a pine box and leave you
put
somewhere?
that in the policy.
Keep the money.
You make sure that's in the will, and you're like, make sure my family uses my life insurance correctly.
That's a good idea. See, that's interesting right there. Right, so, okay, good. So what are some other things that you tell people?
Tell people like what?
About their finance, about how to make a living, how to survive, how to make it so that they can live to 98.
Well, I mean,
when they
you
thought
have
they
to
were
be
only live to
healthy.
88.
Wealth is health, first off.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If you have a healthy mind, you have a healthy just outcome.
Yeah.
But with that, I feel like you have to live under your means. So whether you're making however much, you can't spend more than you make. That's just finance 101.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Uh-oh.
And a lot of people do that.
They spend more than they make.
Yeah, they make $70K a year, but then they do their taxes out, or they figure out that you know what I mean, that they spent $100K.
Instead, in that year, right?
Yeah. From loans, from just so many different things, they finance cars. People just...
They get the most expensive car.
Why do we do that? Why do Americans do that? Why do we want to drive around in like the most expensive car?
A 40, 50 grand car when you could do it in a 20 grand car. There's so many good 20 grand cars out there.
Yeah.
And you have to get a 40 or 50 grand car.
Yeah, Warren Buffett still has that Cadillac or whatever, like the low budget car that he was driving. And I thought that was...
From the old days, right?
Yeah.
And
it was so humble of him.
Right, and I think that's the idea is you just, but people don't, they want to, there's something about the way, like the advertising, which we don't have, fortunately, on MNN, right? We're not broken in. We don't, if you ever done commercial TV, right, we do it in segments of like 5 or 6 minutes,
Yeah.
followed by sitting there waiting for, and then the director going, get ready, and then we all get up and like get on it again because they were running the ads, right?
Yeah.
So we don't have that here. But people, when ads are effective, aren't they?
They are. They bring you in money.
They really work.
Yeah.
People respond to them.
People respond to them on. It's just so many different levels with that. It's like on the consumer end, it's like people they're like, oh, an advertisement. Oh, let me buy in. But then on the business side, it's like ads sell.
It just adds that it costs you money, it doesn't bring in money.
Yeah.
Right. It costs more and more money. Oh my gosh. So, all right, don't live below your means.
Live below your means, you know?
You got to remember that. So, don't go out. I heard going out to eat is a big one. Everybody wants to go out to a restaurant every night and not cook.
Yeah.
But that's the biggest, going out to a restaurant every night is the biggest hit.
I mean, it adds up, definitely. Yeah. But my theory is like something that I personally do, which I've read somewhere down the line, but they say you save 30%, you invest 20%, and then 10% goes to, 20% it goes to spending.
Mm-hmm.
Save 30% of your income, and then it's just like a good way to,
to build up so you'll have something in the bank.
Yeah.
When you're not working, so you don't have to just live off your Social Security,
Literally.
Which is at best $2,000. The best you can get is $2,000 a month.
Yeah, but don't go out to eat every night. Like it's just
Cooking
silly.
is fun.
Cooking is fun.
Yeah.
And it's also healthy. Like I feel like you at least you know what's in your food.
Right.
You go out and it's nice to go out once in a while, but not every night.
Right. And well, in New York, I notice. Especially young people. New York's full of young people, and I live on the Lower East Side in the East Village area, and kids they go out. Kids to me are people in their 20s. They go out, and they go out drinking in bars, which are the same beer you could buy at home for $1 is like $8, $10, $12. A mixed drink, $12, $14, right? Dinner, a couple $100 for a group of people, right? And then they go to their $3,000 a month apartment.
It's like you're like speaking into my life right now because one, I'm in my 20s. My apartment is around $3,000, but I don't really go out that much. I'm in mid-20s, so I'm at the point where at the stage in life where I'm like, I don't really care to like get wasted every night. Like I want to just better my life and not just consume alcohol every time.
Right. I'm glad. And I like that when we were at the dinner, and we were talking about it, I got that impression from you. You're serious. You want to do something with your life, right? And not just just like procrastinate and waste time and party every night. Great. It's not that there's anything wrong partying once in a while. Yeah. So, cool. So tell me about how you became a model. What kind of model were you?
So I was like a fashion runway model. I was first signed at 14 years old with this agency called Barbizon. And it was a school, however, but it did teach me it taught me how to runway walk, commercial, and print modeling.
Yeah.
And I got booked for some gigs, which was great. And then I moved to New York at 23. And I'm not going to let you guys do the math and let you guys know my age. But then while in New York, I did some modeling as well. And now everyone is a model. Like, you can model on Instagram. You can model on Facebook. Like, modeling is not how it used to be when I, was growing up. Like, in the old days,
Yeah, it changed so much.
But yeah, you could be an Instagram model. Everyone's a model now. So I always say, I was a model, in the real days.
Right.
In the Naomi Campbell days.
When you had to walk down
there was actually runway modeling. You actually had to know how to catwalk, walk in 6-inch heels, which I can still do. But yeah.
Okay, cool.
And it was just it was fun.
Wow. So, when I think of that, so it was fun.
It was fun.
It was fun.
And it also came very easy to me. So when I
was that because you were lucky that it was fun, or is it generally fun?
I think it's generally fun. Look at Kylie Jenner. She
Yeah.
wakes up and gets dolled up and takes pictures. Would
Right.
anyone call that fun? I mean, I would like that life.
Yeah, right. You spend all day just getting dressed and getting
And
photographed.
just taking pictures, like, come on, where's
Right,
the cameras
right.
at? Like,
Right. So you felt safe though and protected and everything. It's not like because we,
it was
today.
a way for me to express my creativity.
Great. And the reason I mention that is because today is the beginning of the trial of Harvey Weinstein, and who took advantage of young actresses and young entertainers and media types, you know, and now he's going to pay a price for that. Finally, but it took
Throw him in
years.
jail and throw away the key.
Right.
You know?
He sent a message, the Me Too message, right?
Yeah.
Right. So you went from, so at one point you just realized that modeling was something that was changing. It was changing into like anybody can do it and it's everywhere type of thing. And
I knew it was changing, but I also felt like I was changing. And I also felt like when I would go on castings, people would be like, oh, hey, where are you from? I'm like, Boston. And they're like, oh, what do you do? And I'm like, well, I'm in college. I'm a double major. I work in finance. And I just had this different story than every model that I really met. And I just started realizing, like, wait a minute, like, I'm definitely just more than a model. And I feel like that it differentiated me from everyone else. Like, I was more than a model. Like, I didn't.
Right.
Yeah.
You wanted to be more than just somebody who was a pretty face and looked at.
And I am.
You are.
I am.
Of course. That's obvious. All right. So great. So then you went into finance, which is interesting. And so, how did it change? I know you went over it. We went over it, but tell them more in detail. How did it change?
So
happen?
to be honest, like going back to like my backstory and growing up, like I lived in low income housing.
In Boston.
Yeah,
Boston
and
area.
like we lived on Section 8. It was just my mom is a single mother. So it was very hard. So in college, and I recommend anybody going to college to definitely go into college with like, first of all, I'm just going to say college sets you up for job outcome, to have a job. So when I went into college, I was like, what is going to be profitable? How can I make sure that my loans, I'm going to make more money than my loans. So going in, I was like, let's look at all the majors. Let's look at the salary outcomes. And that was my mindset. So my first major going into college was international business because I love traveling.
Yeah.
So it was international business with a secondary major in accounting.
Yeah.
Took a couple accounting.
That's a good one.
Took a couple and I work in accounting now. So
right. My son is in that too.
Does he?
For the same kind of reason. Like, I come from the hippie times. Nobody thought of the future. School was cheap. Life was easy.
Yeah.
People thought in terms of being students their whole lives sometimes, and there was certain rebelliousness against the system.
Yeah.
There was the Vietnam War and the big social changes that happened in that period. But it's not like that anymore.
I mean, but also
you got to think
backgrounds.
in terms.
Different backgrounds. Like I'm growing up, and I'm like, I need to make means, and I need to make sure that I'm always going to be financially okay.
Right. It's a much different time.
Going into college, I thought of that, and I was like, I need to pick a major that is just lucrative. So, and that's what I did. So I was
what happened that makes everything so expensive? How did it get from like America was like a cheap place to live?
Can we go back to milk being like 50 cents?
Yeah. All those kind of things. It seems ridiculous how now you go in and coffee is $2.75 for a cup of coffee.
The train fare just goes up every 6 months.
It seems that way, right? Yeah.
It's crazy everything. But I mean, the price of living, it's economics, and
right.
that's exactly.
So
why
you
I
have
studied.
to think in terms of working nowadays. You can't think in terms of living on a commune.
And that's one thing that I always my younger cousins. I always let them know, you're going to college. Make sure you're going to college. That some people, if you want to go for art or you want to go for music, actually try to pursue it after and make money from it, profit, or just go do it. You don't need college anymore. For certain things. Like you want to be an artist, whether, I don't know. I mean.
Why rack up all those debts?
Yeah.
Just do it. If you have a talent, just do it.
If you have the talent, just do it. But college is a decision that you need to make sure that you just go in with a clear mind. Like a lot of people who are lost and oh, I don't know what I want to do when I'm older.
They run up $70,000 in debt.
And their parents' debt, it's just don't.
Oh, their parents signed for that, right?
And their parents, I owe my mom $15,000.
And
I'm still trying to pay her off now. I'm like, Mom, let's take a trip to Cabo. That's for sending me to college. But you know, college is tough.
You'll cry when at the University of Wisconsin, which had the top political science department in the country at the time,
Okay.
cost $750 a semester out of state, and then when I got a job slinging hash at some place, it went down to in-state tuition, $250 a semester, $250.
So I bet you've been paid that off.
I didn't have to dad. I paid it. As a matter of fact,
You probably paid it
no,
while going to school.
yeah, I paid it myself, so my parents would never see my grades or anything. Because they paid it, they got the grades. I started paying it, they didn't get the grades anymore.
Makes a lot
I
of sense.
could hang around, do whatever I wanted, take whatever courses I wanted, and stuff like that. Yeah, and it was a big party.
Yeah, that's a big party school now.
Yeah, it always was, but
Yeah.
it was a really political school.
Okay.
It still is. It's like a red diaper baby school. When I was there, it was just coming off of the '60s, and the person who was the mayor up until now, Paul Soglin, who's actually a good friend of mine. He was the mayor of Madison, Wisconsin, and he became famous at the first Mifflin Block Party, which was the police said they couldn't have, so they had it anyway, and they came in and they beat the hell out of people.
Wow.
Including, and there's a famous picture of this young kid being dragged away who several years later became mayor of the city
Oh wow.
and fired all those cops.
Wow.
You know, all those type of cops, that
Yeah.
type of mentality, and replaced them with a much, now when they have the Mifflin Block Party, I was just looking at a recent picture, and there was, one of the cops had another kid in a fake headlock and was giving him like a little head
Little
thing,
huggy.
and the kid was smiling, and people were taking pictures, and can you imagine? It's like that now.
Yeah. Wow. I mean, I went to a big party school as well, UMass Amherst. So I definitely remember those days where
Also a very political one,
very
highly politically charged,
very,
that whole Western Mass area.
Yeah, very liberal.
Yeah.
Very liberal. I just have flashbacks to going out at night and like kids would literally like try to climb up like telephone poles and like shake it down, like throw fire sticks on couches. Just there were so many riots at UMass.
Right.
And
Right. There was
so many arrests at that.
yeah.
Thank God I've never been arrested.
Well, you know, now with Trump and Iran trying to start World War III,
Yeah.
we might have young people have no choice, because there's nothing like the draft to get people in the streets protesting, and the next draft will probably draft women, which is.
I was just about to say, thank God I'm
Yeah.
not a man, you know.
Oh, but no.
But no, it's really awful what's happening
Yeah.
right now in Iran. And literally just, 30 minutes ago, we just got a message on our phone
Yes.
that there was bombings in
Missile
Iraq.
attack.
Missile attack 10.
10 ballistic missiles, ground to ground, against the U.S. a military base with U.S. soldiers in it. No talk of casualties.
Yeah, no casualties.
Duh. I know politics.
Do you think it was a setup? Do you think
Total
this was,
setup.
Really?
Because Mike, I don't know. Who knows? You can't predict the future. You can't predict what's going to happen tomorrow.
Yeah.
All I can say is my opinion right now, which could change, is that Mark Esper, who's the Secretary of Defense, was on television earlier today, and he said that they're in some sort of negotiations with Iran, and there's not going to be a war.
Wow.
And then, boom,
Then this happened.
this happens, and there's silence.
It's so strange to me.
We're crossing our fingers right now
Yeah.
that this was all negotiated.
I'm just really hoping that this was just a part of Trump's crazy plan, but like has like good reason or good cause behind it, you know, because we don't need another war right now.
You're hoping that it doesn't lead to another war. Well, Trump is a crazy man, and his approach to politics is this America First idea of if we just beat him hard enough. But I remember when people were saying that about Vietnam, and when you go to Vietnam, and you wonder how many more holes could they put in it. I mean, if the problem is we didn't bomb them enough, or one hand was tied behind our back, or we wasn't hard enough, how hard do you want to be? Does it end when we drop an atom bomb on them or something?
Yeah.
And then they drop one on us?
Yeah. And that's like the counteract. It's like, are they going to start like sending missiles over here, you know? And we live in New York, so it's
I wouldn't be afraid. I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think the Iranian government is targeting the American people, and they specifically told people not to kill American civilians.
Yeah.
I think, though, that if I was in the military, I'd be worried.
Yeah, when Qasem got assassinated, last Thursday or Friday was it?
Yeah.
Friday. I was definitely terrified. I mean, I was on the subway and I was just definitely like, wow, we're security, because you never know what can happen.
Right.
And that's just the result.
Yeah, I don't think listen, always, my mother told me, grew up in the Bronx, back in the 30s and 40s, and she used to say, always have eyes in the back of your head.
Yeah.
In New York, anywhere.
Anywhere.
Especially growing up in those days, it was tough in those days.
Oh yeah.
And so always have eyes in the back of your head. You never know. There's terrorists, there's crazy people, there's robbers, there's muggers, there's who knows what out there, crazy people. I was just reading his book about indigenous people who were being terrorized in an area of Canada because it turned out nobody cared. The police didn't do anything. So.
Yeah, but I feel like you can't live with this paranoia, oh, someone's gonna attack me, because it's just you can't live like that. Yeah, you should be cautious, watch your back, but you just can't live being paranoid that someone's just.
And I'm glad you're not, because you don't seem that way at all. So what do we do? Last couple of minutes. What's the secret to your success? What young girls, young women who are listening, watching this show right now, and I hope there's a couple of them. What should they learn from your experience?
Well, from my experience, I've been through a lot, and I'm still going to be going through a lot. But my advice to anybody, it's 2020, and everyone's been talking about visions, because the 2020 vision.
Right.
I would just say, have a clear vision of what you want to do. Focus on things that make you happy, and just always, follow your heart, follow your dreams, and yeah, it's 2020. Have a clear mind of everything that you want to do. Find best ways to execute them. And
so, what's your goal for
goal?
2020?
Oh, I have too many goals, and we have 2 minutes left.
1 minute. All right. So, you don't want to list all your goals, but
no. Happiness is one of them.
How about you want to work in media, right? You want
I
to get
do,
on. You
and
want
I'm
to get
going
on
to
screen.
be. I mean, I'm here now, right?
Yes. You want to get on the screen, get in front of the camera.
Speak it into existence.
Yeah.
2020. Anything you want to do, just say it and make it happen. Right?
Great. Yeah, absolutely.
And thank you so much for having me here.
No, I think you're a great person to have on the show. I'm so happy to have you on. You were a pleasure to have a pleasurable discussion. Really enjoy it. I'm sure people out there really enjoyed hearing your story and our conversation. We have quite a bit of a rapport there going back and forth. It was really nice. I like that. And it's a tough world out there. Be careful, guys. There's obviously a militaristic streak in our government, and anything is possible. So have, as my mom would say, have some eyes in the back of your head. Be really careful, and don't be sucked into the warmongering war fever.
And be nice to people.
Please be nice. And we'll see you next week. That's it. We did it.
Woo! Thank you. That was so much fun.